Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Windows Basics. This is going to be part 3 and today we're going to cover control panel and settings. So guys, if we look at this, you're all familiar with, or most of you should be familiar with control panel, but in most recent releases of Windows, we have settings. We can access that just by clicking start here and settings. I think you can access it by right clicking, and yeah, it's in here as well. But settings, you can just kind of take a look at some basic stuff like your Ethernet's connected, Windows Update stuff, miscellaneous stuff here, recommended settings. But if we look over here, there are different settings in here, like system, Bluetooth stuff. There's actually quite a bit that you can do in here. But for me, I started with Windows way back on the very first version, and control panel was built within that version of Windows, and it's always been a thing. And so that's what I'm used to. So not that I don't like the settings menu, but everything that you can do in here, you can do in control panel plus more. So like I said, there's a lot you can do in here. There's a lot of different sections in here, but let's look to control panel. So we'll go ahead and close settings here. And I'm just going to click here, type control panel. Let's run that. Now, by default, I've got mine set differently. By default, this is what it should look like when you open control panel. It's not bad. It's nicely laid out, but I actually prefer the small icons. And that's because you can see everything on one page here. Now, we're not going to go through every single one of these, obviously, because this would be a 2-hour video. But we can go through some of the basics here. If we just kind of scroll through here, this one is big, your power options. This is where you can set a power plan, decide what your computer does when you close the lid if you're using a laptop, or choose what the power button does and stuff like that, change when the computer sleeps. So the power options is pretty popular and common for people to use. Remote app and desktop connections. This is where you will set up remote desktop connections to your computer, to your desktop or laptop. That's not as common. A lot of people use like third-party software nowadays, like TeamViewer and AnyViewer, stuff like that. But it can still be done here. Storage spaces for your drives. You can do a little bit of troubleshooting. I find Windows troubleshooting just kind of mediocre. It doesn't really tell you much. Do some backup and restore. This refers to Windows 7. I'm not really sure why it does that, but you can do some date and time stuff in here. Mouse settings. This one can be big for some users if you want to speed up or slow down your double click speed. Click lock, button config if you want to switch your buttons, like left clicking if you want to make that the right button, you can definitely do that here. You can change your pointer options, give different things to the wheel here and what it does, and different hardware, which you'll never really have to use this. This is just driver stuff. But that does come in handy for some users who want to modify and configure how their mouse is used. This is your programs and features, so you can go into programs and features and you can actually uninstall anything from here. So let's back out of that. I think we've all done that. Security and maintenance, this is basically your Windows Defender and stuff like that. In coordinates with that down here, you'll see firewall. Here's to create new user accounts, which we are probably going to cover in this Windows Basics series at some point. So you got your system, you got sound stuff here. This is a big one where a lot of people will be going into it. It's your network and sharing. Change your adapter settings and stuff like that. In here is where you would change, like, for your IPv4, double click on that. That brings all this up in case you want to do like a third-party DNS instead of getting one automatically. You can actually specify, like I'm using Cloudflare. Those are the IPs for that. By the way, if you have not used Cloudflare, I do have a video on that, and I will link it in this video down in the description. But yeah, there's all your network settings there. Also, a good place to set up network sharing and stuff like that. That good stuff. File Explorer options, which we have gone through in other videos. It's just kind of lets you tell the system how you want to use File Explorer. And if you're on a pro version of Windows, you got your BitLocker, color management, and so on and so forth. File history of what you've done, configuring of the keyboard, just like you did your mouse. But this is a little bit different. I've actually never had to go in there and configure my keyboard. I just kind of plug it in and it works. This one cracks me up, phone and modem. Hope nobody ever has to use that again. If you watching this are of a certain age, you will have no clue what this means. But back in the day when I was first getting into computers in the early 90s, there was a thing called a modem. And it was a dial-up modem, which meant you hooked a phone line to that. And this is where you would come in and set up all your phone information, like your area code and stuff like that. And after you set all that up, you could set up dial-up networking to actually dial into your internet service. So we don't live in those old times anymore, but some people still may live in an area where, you know, they don't have broadband internet like we do now, or if all they need to do is a quick dial-up account to grab their email, they might do that. So it used to be a thing. It's not so much anymore, but if you do have a modem, you can configure it there. And of course, region, speech recognition, your taskbar, Windows tools, not really big these days, but it is a thing that you can go into. There's different tools in here. You see remote desktop connection, PowerShell, stuff like that. But anyway, guys, that is the difference with the settings menu and the control panel. And just remember, most everything that you do in the settings menu will actually open up menus from the control panel here. I'm not really sure why Microsoft had to create such a menu, but they did. But if you're old school, you'll probably still refer to control panel. If not, you can use settings, and there's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, guys, that is it for this part 3 of the Windows Basics covering the control panel and settings. Hope this helped you out. Continue to watch for the part 4. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.